We just kind of had everything converge. Val, it looks like the live stream is happening. I'm
So
seeing.
it seems.
Yeah.
I just got that message too.
And it looks like Rob and Amanda are joining us.
Great.
So that's wonderful. Autumn, you're welcome to stay as long as you want, but realistically, you're only going to meet Camilla and me today, and you've already met me. And,
Thanks so much. And Camilla, I look forward to meeting you somewhere in the real world sometime soon.
Yes, definitely. Me too.
yeah. And Autumn, if you do have time next week, I promise for just 3 to 5 minutes, just to introduce you to everybody else.
I'll plan on being there. I believe I can do it.
Okay, terrific.
Autumn, thanks for everything.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks.
That's great. So Val, if we're live streaming and recording, I'm going to declare open this meeting of the Design Review Board and Historic Preservation Commission of the Village of New Paltz, meeting in this iteration of this commission for its first meeting on June 20th, 2022. The time is just a couple of minutes after 7:02. I should first say that just for the record and for Rob and Amanda, we do not have a quorum tonight. This is an unfortunate and unprecedented thing. And so Amanda and Rob, what that means is that we can't take decisive action such as voting, but we are very happy to talk through any matters concerning your application. And it looks like we will have a quorum Monday next week, and that is our plan to finish this meeting off with very sincere apologies that it came to this, but we just had a perfect storm of people who were made unavailable.
No worries at all. We totally get it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your understanding.
We've had our own perfect storms.
Yeah, I guess I just want to say this is not how we roll. This is a case where things roll off the rails.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We appreciate it anyways.
Sure. What I'd like to do, given that you're on the call, let us, if it's okay with you, Camilla, let's put everything else aside and go directly to HPC 2203, which is Rob and Amanda's application. I think that there are basically two parts here, and I'm quite clear on the signage part, Rob and Amanda, and I don't see any issue at all. The sign is the same format. It's your logo and lettering, and it looks great. So I would separate that from the potential issue of the fencing, which was sort of implied by where you are with the planning board. Camilla, did you see?
That did get cleared. We ended up not having to do any fencing, and we only needed to do planters, which we did fulfill already. Unless you guys had anything different you wanted to add to that.
No, planters are non-permanent structures. They can come and go, so that's resolved. So I think we're literally down to, Camilla, do you have any thoughts on the signage? That
I really like the design and the font. I'm just curious. Are you married to the black and white color scheme? Or?
No, so we want the actual sign to be wooden. So we just want white lettering on a wooden.
Okay.
Okay, so the black represents what might be like a varnished or a stained. Okay.
It was just the we didn't have like a brown background. So we're just setting that one over with the white lettering, and then we're trying to find a color like this. We just need to find a piece of wood that has a good design to it.
That sounds great. I wish
and
I had a great...
Another suggestion might be, of course, it's just a suggestion, to have a sign that kind of mimics the color of the trim of the building, a kind of dark green, and then the lighter lettering. That's just a suggestion.
Yeah, no, we did think about that. I think it wasn't an issue. I think what we kind of decided on that was that the colors are a little dark, and it's a little hard to read because we actually, those are our favorite colors. That forest green.
That's our interior.
Yeah, with like that gold trim to it was instantly, that was like, oh my God, we can have like a sign that matches because that's our colors. But then like the farther we started to look away from that, it gets a little hard to read the letters. They're just a little too dark.
Right. Okay.
And I think you must have thought this through, and we don't really advise on design, but like everybody knows signs have to be legible, so that has to be paramount.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we're
something
changing.
we worked with our sign person, and they gave us like kind of like a whole little lesson on readability, which we didn't even think about prior, and almost convinced us more so that the wood would be more readable because it pops out against the building colors. Apologies for our dogs.
Oh, that's quite all right.
Shall I
No, that
scroll
sounds-
through the application further?
Sure, if you would, Val. And we can make a note tonight that the question of the fence has been resolved.
Right, as I recall, there were 3 options I think you all considered, and the planning board accepted the planters as
Yes.
the
Yeah.
preferable one. Yeah.
Yes.
That's great.
Can I just ask something about the window display, the letters that you would put on the windows for the hours?
So this was more so, oh, sorry.
I was just wondering would it be possible to have fonts that are kind of similar to the signage?
Yes, absolutely. So this was just a replica of,
Okay.
this is just the idea of the lettering that's going to be used on the sign. It's going to be our logo, but this is the vinyl, the
Right.
white vinyl that we're going to have on our logo. So we do hope to get this onto the window with a similar font for the hours.
That sounds perfect. Thank you so much.
And if we can't do a diagonal, we'll probably do like a hanging sign that'll spin. That will definitely have a very similar font to that.
Okay.
Oh, great idea. Yeah. Yeah.
That sign is really nice.
I think that sign is highly visible.
Thank you.
What's the condition of the bracket, just as a side question?
Actually in great shape. Jack got it cleaned up, fixed, welded, painted. He did that a couple weeks ago actually and put it back up there.
Great, wonderful.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it does in this photo.
No.
He had me go into the basement and take that out for him to take that photo, and then he went and took it and got it all cleaned up and fixed and everything, which is really nice.
Wonderful. Great. Val, is there more you wanted to scroll to?
It's entirely up to you what you'd like to see. I mean, these are close-ups of the images we just saw, these
Yeah.
next 2. And then we start getting into the fencing, which is not necessarily
Which is no
relevant.
longer-
right?
Yeah, and those are the planters that we
Which have actually, I don't know if anyone's walked by,
Yeah.
this is when we first planted these. The plants have gained a decent amount of like height and thickness, which is really, they're starting to grow in really well.
That's great.
It's really fortunate that you didn't have to put fencing up.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We were really trying to stay away from that as much as possible.
And the planters just give a more lush and
Yeah, absolutely.
feel.
And I also noticed a lot of businesses and like Water Street Market and even Huckleberry's using the same I forgot what they're called, the colorful plant on there.
Oh, it's
Coleus, yeah.
Yeah, the coleus. Everyone's using the same ones. I was like, oh, these are so unique. No one's gonna use them. Go walk around town. It's literally on the same property. I walk into Huckleberry's to say hi, and they have it all over the place. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, at least we're matching.
But they
They're
are very
lovely.
versatile and they like the shady areas.
Yeah, my friend is the gardener at Mohawk, so he came with us and helped us pick out a bunch of stuff.
Oh, that's nice. They will really take off. By the end of the season, we have coleus as well, like everybody.
Yeah.
And,
You might need some
we came back
space.
from a month
Right.
away, and they
Yeah.
were suddenly 2.5 feet tall.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll probably keep them a little shorter than that, but that's cool.
Yeah.
And then the ones in the middle, we actually did sweet potatoes.
Mhm.
Oh, nice.
That's
Yeah.
nice little cascade down.
This
That
all
was,
sounds really good, Robin, Amanda.
Thank you.
I'm really sorry that we can't take action tonight.
No
but
worries.
That's
we hope to be able to do so Monday next. And basically that would take the form of certifying to the planning board that we are satisfied. And I think we will be, but I just can't say that until we can legally vote.
Yes.
Right, of course.
So I
Yeah,
hope
no
that
worries
doesn't,
at all. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be in touch next week.
that sounds great. Valerie will,
Thank you.
we're just gonna, tonight, we just have to confirm that we have a quorum and can actually notice the meeting in time because we have an obligation to do that. So please keep your eyes open for communication from Valerie.
Perfect.
And as I
I'm-
understand it, if we consider next week's meeting a continuation of this one, we won't need to notice it as a special meeting. It's basically the same meeting as
Oh,
tonight.
even easier. Okay, that's great. So that is the plan, that we'll keep this meeting open and we hope have an answer for you Monday.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
I wanted to say too, just editorially, how excited I am for your idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I really hope it takes off in the
Thank you.
community. Hang in there until the students are back because that's
Yeah.
obviously a huge population.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we've heard.
Yeah,
Summertime is nice. We're trying to get open as soon as possible, but it'll probably be mid to late summer anyway. So it'll be right before the big rush. Let us get
yeah,
our hands a little dirty,
Yeah.
get used to
And our
everything.
grounding.
right. Get your steps down.
Yeah.
But you'll be the next new thing when students come back.
Yeah, which hopefully we're excited about it.
Yeah, very much so.
That sounds
Um,
great.
Robin,
Well-
Amanda, just one quick question. You're
Yes.
not scheduled for any further action from the planning board, yes? Is that
Nope.
correct?
Nope,
Okay,
we're
you're
done.
set.
We they issued our special use permit from what I understand.
Okay, all right, super.
That's great. Well, again, we'll hope to have an answer for you Monday next. And
Fantastic.
please tune in. And again, thank you for your patience. This is not how we like to do business.
No,
but
thank you guys for
Yeah.
getting us in so quick because
Yes, we really appreciate
yeah,
it.
that was a late application. So you guys squeezed us in. So we appreciate that.
we try to do what we can. Thank you so much. Have a nice
All right,
evening.
guys.
Thank you.
Have a
Nice
great-
to meet you.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye.
thank
Nice
you.
meeting you as
Bye,
well.
guys.
Can't wait to meet you in person.
So Val, short of voting on that, I'm just going to ask you or instruct you to keep that open till next week. However, we want to represent that in the minutes. Camilla, I got a communication from Alfondre Architecture for HPC 2204. They would prefer to do it all in one meeting where we can vote. And so we have deferred them until the next meeting.
That's perfectly understandable.
It is.
Yeah.
And again, I apologize to them for the inconvenience. Camilla, I'm thinking, well, we can't vote on minutes anyway, so.
You know,
we're
there's
gonna-
no need to vote on minutes.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's according to Robert's rules.
They can be taken as consensus?
Unless someone has corrections. I mean, certainly that's a reason to not vote on them
Right,
or not.
or
not-
to call for a vote, correct?
Right.
If there's a dispute over what they represent. Well, that can
But there are
streamline
only two of you.
things. Yeah. Nonetheless, let's keep the minutes open, but that's useful to know that we can take them by consensus and then skip reporting a vote.
Okay.
Let's see, what else? So Camilla, I asked Craig to come at 7:30 for E8E. There's the HVAC installation, and we also wanted to talk about the Jameson House. This might be a good time just to get into the record where we are with the art show submissions and what your current thinking is.
Yes, so we extended the deadline for submissions until July 15, and I think it's a good thing we did, because since our third press release went out, I received quite a few new submissions and inquiries. So I guess we are still waiting for the deadline to
Okay.
approach and more artworks to come in.
Has the pattern in the past been that just before deadline, you get the majority of the works, or is
Yes,
it?
usually. But I think maybe it could be a factor that people are just a bit tired of the pandemic. And also, if we put the first press release in too much in advance of the actual exhibit date, or too much in front of the submission deadline, people tend to forget, because there is still 2 months left or 3 months
Right.
left, and it just slips their mind. I'm not exactly sure what happened this year, but new submissions are coming in, so that's.
And we've got more than
People
3
have a
weeks
pattern.
before the deadline.
What's that? I'm sorry.
More than 3 weeks before the extended deadline.
Yes.
So, Camilla, I was, I think I hinted at this in an email, just thinking that maybe we could have a conversation about what went wrong, but I don't actually think anything went wrong. I think
No. I don't think anything went wrong. It's just sometimes these things happen.
Yeah.
And it's normal to, extend deadlines and reconsider dates. It's
Right.
especially for an online show. We are not obligated, or we are not in any scheduling conflict with other exhibits, or we
That's
don't
right.
need a physical space to think about.
Yeah. No, I think that's
wouldn't
right.
worry too
I think
much.
also that there's a kind of weariness about online anything anymore. And
But
so
people are
maybe not.
eager to go back to in person.
Yeah. Okay, I think that sounds really good. So we meet again on the 18th, which means you will have a grand total in time for that meeting. So Val, if we could just make a point that the July meeting would include a report from Camilla.
Okay.
Camilla, anything to report on exterior paint color consultations?
Not really, except for the house on Hugonite Street. Remember, a few months ago, we consulted with the couple. I forgot the actual number.
Hold on a second. It's 196.
196. Yes. It seems
Berman
like
Blake.
work has been completed there, and it looks
Why am I not remembering this? 196 is.
It's quite towards the end of
Oh, yes. It's
And
actually almost at the golf course.
yes. That's
Yeah.
right.
Camilla, did you get to take a look at it?
I did, yes. I
It looks
walked
lovely,
by.
doesn't it?
It's really nice, yes.
Sure. No, I remember now.
Nice blue. The house is blue, and then the supporting columns are a lighter shade of blue, and then the shutters are dark. I don't know if they are dark green or black. I'm not sure that they actually chose the colors we recommended, but close enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's in that family, so it looks very nice.
And yeah, I mean, consultation is not command. It's
Exactly, it's just an idea, and
yeah,
people either run with the ideas or not. It's their choice.
Right. That's great. Thank you. Val, I'm looking at our agenda. Yeah, thank you. So Camilla, just to, and for the record, so the downtown preservation updated the district's map Shane has been very busy, but he said this week he should have time to make those last changes. We, of course, have that district now, I'm so happy to say. And we have our new name, the Design Review Board and Historic Preservation Commission. In terms of planning for new workload and workflow, Valerie and I have talked about this quite a lot. We really want to try to find a way to expedite whatever we can expedite, both for the client's sake and of course for our own. And I was thinking that we could introduce on the form or establish as a recognized response to a form language like approved without review / waived or waiver. And I think the idea there would be, at the moment, the only way we have to track an application is the form. So even if we waive the application, we should still have the form so that we have a number to attach to it, so it can be reported as an initial application, and we would just exercise our judgment. So I wondered, Camilla, if you thought that sounded okay to kind of have a category.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Val, do you feel that that solves?
I do think it makes sense to do it that way. I want to make sure that works for Holly and Corey. And this isn't exactly related to this, but somehow somewhat related. When Autumn and I met last week, and she's left the meeting now, we were talking about, to some extent, streamlining workload and workflow, but also more how to make processes consistent with the established ones for the planning board. And she's doing a lot of work now on, the Google Drive and making documents accessible to the public. And what she's done is created a Google Drive folder for HPC now, so that I can add things to that drive and that they would be publicly available as well. I've noticed that, with things like the Alfondri application, and even with Amanda and Rob's application, that much of the material is already on the drive with planning board, zoning board. And that by my then creating another document that has a different, it's sort of another document that has a lot of duplication with existing documents. And I think there may be a way to somehow get the drives to talk to each other, or the folders to talk to each other, and link documents the way Autumn now does in her agendas. We're still kind of working out what that's going to look like, but I think it might be preferable to my creating a new single PDF of either photos or other plans that I've received by email or pulled off the drive. It takes time for me to do that. I have to use other resources to do that because I can't do it on this laptop. I think there are some efficiencies to being added to the Google Drive and being able to link to other documents that can be found there. So, my only concern is making sure everybody can access the drive. And I know both of you can, which is very encouraging.
Yes. I've had problems in the past because somehow my HPC address wasn't listed, and the only way I could access a Google Drive was to go into a personal account, which I'd rather not do, but that seems to be solved for whatever reason.
Okay.
So I'm all for what you're describing, Val.
And I think it also, it's very consistent with the plan for these boards and commissions to be talking to each other and supporting each other and, basically collaborating. So, there's more to be discussed about this, but I was very grateful that during the meeting, Autumn raised this and gave me some access for things to begin to experiment with it. And then we'll see where the kinks are, just see what we can do going forward.
Yes, that sounds great. Thank you for doing that behind the scenes work, and obviously whatever we can do to help you think it through or model it or test it would be great.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I am a little anxious about about my own workload and being able to, manage communications and, whatever letters or, formal paperwork that needs to be a part of the process. And I think probably some of what Amanda or Autumn is working on will really help with that.
I think so. I'm wondering too about some fairly standard reporting form, so that I'm not writing a new email from scratch every time we want to report something to the planning board. So we can, again, with Autumn's help, think about that.
Yeah, good point.
So Camilla, also just to update on the lot for sale. I don't know if you've noticed that Wirtz Avenue and Main Street has a fence around it now where the parking lot was.
Yes.
That belongs to John Joseph, and he is looking to sell it. So we'll just want to watch to see what happens. And now we, of course, will have a major role in what that eventual construction looks like. So that's really just updating us. Let's save any update on the Ann Oliver house for Steve, except maybe to say that he and I attended a meeting with Essie and also Dave Toder, the architect who lives in, I think it's still New Paltz, maybe it's Highland, but he lives right in the community. He volunteered to be the architect for their project, and that was just terrific news, and he has terrific ideas. So that's really good in every way.
And as I recall, there was somebody that Dave knows who also volunteered to do some 3D renderings. Is that what it was?
Yes, I think that's right. So, clearly he and his friend are going to jump in. Let's see. And I think the Sojourner Truth Sign Restoration, let's kick that to July. I see that Craig has joined us, so maybe the best thing to do is be respectful of his time. Craig, welcome.
I'm not due for another minute. It's okay.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
It's good. How you doing?
Hi, Craig.
So, Craig, once again, we don't have a quorum. We weren't going to vote on anything tonight anyway. We still need an actual application. So. But you wanted to talk through that HVAC and just let us know where you are, and then we can talk about the Jameson House as well.
Sure. I'll just give you an update. Here's where we're at. The property committee is about 8 people. It looks like 6, maybe 7 now are moving towards the direction I'm trying to steer. I want to be cautious. Towards HVAC to be green. I'm not a big fossil fuel guy. The HVAC units that you see on a commercial application, like a factory or whatever, they start at about $250,000 and go up to literally millions, and would probably be at least $500,000 to cover our building. Out of the question. Got with the right gang, nice people. But like anything, I wanted to have a couple of bids, just to keep them honest. Not that they're not honest. And I'm leaning towards that technology. And I'm leaning towards a nice young man, Matt Lefevre, whose father was very active in our church. So he has that going for him. And plus, he has a very strong understanding of Hugonite because of his father's involvement with the church. So has been incredibly responsible. Anytime I've asked any questions, he is right on the ball. If he doesn't have an answer, he's very good about researching and getting me answers, like the kid a lot. Ricor is great. Don't get me wrong. Plus, Matt is maybe 8% cheaper, and we're looking at real dollars here, Tom, because we're probably looking at, and don't fall down and get nervous here. For downstairs, probably about 6 units, and upstairs 12. So 18 to 20. As we get a little more dialed in, a lot can go out the back for the downstairs, for the social hall, Upstairs, obviously, we're looking at dealing with the north side and south side of the building. The south side being more accommodating only in the fact that we have that structure built that is the stairwell to the sanctuary, which in principle we could extend, but I don't think I want to do that. Here's what I'm thinking. I have a meeting again with Matt on Thursday. I don't know how well you know that building, but on the north side and south side, because of the large basement windows, which mirror the width, and there's a jump between the stained glass window and then to windows that are just sort of a continuation of the not landscape, but the stained glass windows in width for the downstairs. So visually, you have these windows that come down, they stop, and then another window starts below that about 6 feet that brings light into the basement, into the social hall. So there's a rather deep well, probably a good 4 foot deep, and I'm thinking close to 3 foot out from the building. So the last meeting I had with Matt is I don't want all what they call these line sets. You're probably familiar with them, Tom.
Yeah.
Running all over the building. So the last time I met with him, I said, why not kind of put these things sort of close together, make one bigger hole, bring all the line sets inside, run them along the floor, because nobody's sitting in the pews pressed up against the wall, and box them in and run along the floor to where the units are, which will be where the radiators are now, and then come up to the coils that dispense the heat. And he liked that idea. He should have some numbers for me. I don't think it's going to be that much more than the line sets that you build outside anyway. So visually, fewer holes in the building, and these things that look similar to gutter downspouts in principle, if I can use that term.
Yeah.
But obviously, these would be a little bigger because of the nature that we'd have probably 4 units on each side. So they're called double line sets to what you're used to, which are usually like around a 3 by 3 kind of box. These would be more like a 6 to fit them all. But when I want to avoid putting them outside altogether. So I'm attempting to bring them inside one hole instead of, 8 holes on either side of the building, as well in the back. Same thing to do in the back, come in and then run the line sets in the basement. There's almost like a cornice molding, crown molding that runs around the building. Perhaps we can take that off. We got to investigate that, put them inside that, put the crown back up. So same kind of thing, not as important in the basement in the social hall, but certainly upstairs on the outside of the building. So that's what I'm trying to do. Meeting on Thursday to take real accurate measurements, because I just threw this out at Matt a few days ago, and he said I can come Thursday night, measure, and see if we can find units shallow enough to do what's called a ground stand, which is just a steel frame. You wouldn't even see them. They stand about a foot off the ground, and then there's these cast rubber things that stand about 6 inches off the ground. I'm leaning to whichever one works. We'll probably stick out of the well. The larger units, which are 18,000 BTU production, are called double splits. They're the same size as, I don't know how familiar you are with these things, Tom, but we're between the sanctuary, which is the upstairs, the worship, and the basement. We're looking at some 18s for upstairs, because that's the big room, some 15s and 12s downstairs. 15 for the big main room, and then a bunch of little 12s, because we have a choir room, we have a kitchen, we have the elevator room, and we have a nursery room. So we'd have separate 4 smaller units, as far as the dispenser coils, in one in each room, and then a bigger, the 8, the 15 for the main social hall. So that's for downstairs. But what you're more concerned with is the visuals. So what I'm trying to do, and what I'm hoping to do, if these things can fit in this well, about a foot off the ground, and the wells are fairly deep. They're a good 3 foot deep. So these units are probably 4 foot tall. So you figure if they're on a 1 foot stand, and they have to say they're 4 foot, a little bit more, maybe 4 foot 3 inches, something like that. I went and looked at a church went to services last Sunday, the St. Gregory's Episcopal Church in Woodstock to see the quality of the work and meticulous. Nice job. In any case, the larger units, which I measured, would still stand 2 foot above the well. So here is my thinking. The wells are lined on the edge because they have stone walls that come up flush to the ground, and then they have a cap, which is like 3 foot by 12 foot by 6 inches cast concrete, and they cap like you would a stone wall, which I'm sure you've seen. And so those cap the stone wall, which is the walls for the well, and they run the length of the church on both sides. So my thinking is, if these things are going to stick 18 inches, 2 foot above, I would like the length of the church from the front to the back. And the church is a Greek revival design. And if you look there aerially, there are these bump outs from on the side. So if you were flying over it, the church looks like a cross. So I'd like to run on, and that well runs from almost the front to to those bump outs of the cross. So I'd like to run, and I'm thinking just a little 2 foot. I don't want to make it solid because I don't think it's going to be as charming. A picket fence, white picket style fence, running the whole length with a return on the north side. It wouldn't have a return on the south side because it would start at the building. I don't have a picture, but if you guys have seen the church, there's a stairwell that goes downstairs, and that's all framed in. So the picket fence would run from the end of that to the elevator room. I'm thinking about 2 foot, white, and I'm going to use that dirty word vinyl, only so it's zero maintenance. Just enough that covers the units. You would be, in principle, if you were looking for it, you would see them if you're in the parking lot or in Mark Mass kitchen or dining room. But from the road, obviously, they're only, those things are usually what, 3-4 cents inches apart each picket.
Yeah.
So from the road, you wouldn't see the units. You know what I mean? You just see the lattice, so to speak, or the spindles, whatever you want to call them, of the fencing. So I don't think I wanted to, I would prefer not to do solid, only because I think a picket would be more charming, would lend itself more to the street and to the building. So that's what I'm hoping to be able to do. And I'm pitching that only because I'm pretty sure after Thursday meeting, we're going to be able to take this to consistory, make a recommendation from property to the consistory that we're going to go with the HBC mini splits and try to be green. It may be a bit problematic. Matt's done a lot of research with the National Weatherology, whoever they are, and has done a study or gathered data for the last 20 years. And we can expect, on average, 1 day a year below zero and 1 day a year below 105 below zero. Now, these units are still efficient down to 5 below zero, which is nice. I mean, I have a mini split in my house, and it loses its efficiency after 32 degrees freezing. But the more modern technology now goes to 5 below zero. So that's the nature of the newer technology. And the feeling is, if we had a day that's going to be below zero, we're going to know about it.
Yeah.
And people are going to be talking about it. We could always meet in the basement and not waste the energy heating upstairs, because that is below ground. So it would be more efficient because we're going to do the same thing downstairs. Or we could just go over to the fireside room in the education building and meet there. Because if we're looking at 5 below zero, attendance is going to be pretty lousy anyway.
Yeah, you may not get people who want to come out of their houses.
You're not going to have people coming out anyway. So I say on those 1 or 2 days a year, we notify people by email blast, and if they don't get it, we have a sign say, please come downstairs or go back across the street. We're meeting in the fireside room, or we're meeting in the social hall. In which case, the other thing we're looking at is there is insulation in the attic of the church. But to do it right, that would have to be removed, do what they call seal the ceiling, and then re-insulate with a more modern, more effective insulation. But we're looking at $40,000. We're not going to do that right now. So we'll live with, if we have a few days, we'll meet elsewhere. The units will do it, but it might just feel not as comfortable as steam heat or oil-fired heat.
Right.
You know, which I don't think is a big deal. Wear a sweater. Forgive me. I don't want to seem insensitive to people's need to be warm when they come worship. I absolutely for. We will eventually insulate. My feeling is what I said to the couple people of property. I said, you know, with the way fuel oil go, I bet you in the next year or two, New York State, NYSERDA, Central Hudson will have lots of incentives if we're going to be selling home heating oil at $6.50 a gallon. There's going to be lots of programs to insulate your home or offices that'll come around and help us pay for it.
Yeah.
And we'll just live with it for now. With what we have, it can be better, but I'm not going to spend $40,000. We're looking at heating systems in excess of $130,000 to heat that sanctuary and the basement. We don't, you know, I mean, it's going to have to happen, but you know, it's no cheaper with fuel oil, and I don't want to go that way. I think maybe you guys know New York State wants to be all renewable by 2040. I don't know if they're going to make it, but I don't think, and forgive me to be the skeptic I am, I don't think we're going to meet the Paris Accord and keep global warming below 2 degrees. I don't think we're going to make it, but I got to do my part. You know,
agreed in every particular, Greg.
yeah,
This sounds great.
I'm not a fan of burning oil, or even less so of gas, even though it's more efficient. We get that from fracking. I'm not a big fan of fracking. So again, which I desperately trying very hard to take us down the road of these mini splits, which is a little awkward for a space that huge, you know, because that technology is for residential, but they're used in commercial applications. You just got to use a lot of them. And I don't want, you know, 16 things hanging on the building. It's an old building. It would be offensive. And plus, I don't want to tax. It's structurally sound, but I just don't want to drill that many holes in the building. I'd rather drill 3 big holes, put the ductwork through, and then cement it in.
Yeah.
You know, so the structural integrity, you don't lose anything on the building.
And you know, you can do all kinds of clever. You'd mentioned boxing those lines in. You can exercise some cleverness. It might be a way to hide speakers or other electrical lines or audio lines. I mean,
yeah, well, you know, we're updating our streaming services. We've got lines in the most peculiar ways. I mean, obviously, I've said just that if we do this, we'll bring, you know, we'll just throw a bunch of coax in there while we're at it. You know what I mean? And it's there, depending on, you know, how things go.
Craig, this sounds great. Why don't we, I'm thinking about sequencing. Why don't you, after the Thursday meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and then you said very soon after that, there will actually be a vote to go ahead with that.
Well,
plan.
I think, you know, I have held the group off. We had we had a meeting last Thursday that they were hoping to vote, and I told them I'm going to abstain. I can't vote. I don't have enough information to make a intelligent decision. And so everybody was like, wait a minute, what? You know, and why? And I explained, and so everybody decided to hold off and had a lot of questions. And when I went through what I went through with you two right now, or you three, basically, the sense I got, the team is going to go in that direction. I think there's only one person that might be holding out for oil and one person holding out for gas, but or propane bottle. But again, it's not an all or nothing. It's this part of the church is a democratic vote, and you know, I think the HVAC is going to carry, and that's the way we're going to go. So I'm comfortable telling you what my thinking is, and I hope you guys. So what are you thinking about that picket fence idea?
I think it's worth mocking up. The other thing that occurred to me is just going with something organic. You know, maybe getting some, some fencing in with the idea of training vines or flowering vines over it.
Just in that one spot.
I mean, that's where we come in, Craig. We can, look at a design, we can mock up something with you, we can try to help.
Okay.
I mean,
I would welcome that. That's fine.
you're showing the right instinct as far as we're concerned. You want to be respectful of Huguenot Street. You want to keep the building's integrity. Like, we're on the same page.
Okay.
So you've got design skills, right? You could mock up a photo.
I could do something. I'm not going to put a lot of time in. I could do something sort of take a picture side of the building, do a print, and do something, I'm going to say rudimentary.
Sure.
I can include pictures of what I'm thinking, a type of picket fence. I can go to a fence place in Kingston or whatever and get brochures of what I'm thinking to get to you guys.
Yeah.
So sure.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I think, once you know what the board has decided, and it sounds like it's going your way, that's the time to commit to an application, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, good.
Camilla, do you have thoughts on the fence?
No, I think you said everything
Okay.
you said at this
He's a
point.
man of many words, isn't he?
I am a man of many words. But, it may, planters, if that is wide enough, maybe some planters does the trick.
Yeah.
So I think we keep an open mind on that detail.
Well, at the end of the day, it's at that point, it's going to have a little bit of influence if I can get away cheaper with just doing a short run with a return of a lattice and, some climbing morning glories or whatever. That doesn't work in the winter. The problem is most climbing things are perennial in nature. So I think we're going to have to look at something more boxwood-like or something that will can be trained to, be permanent, that it does the same job, has the same effect in winter as well as summer.
Yeah, that's a good point too. We'll kick that around with the board. Every product and every plant costs money, so there's money in the mix. So let's talk about the Jameson House. You said you'd like to get going on windows.
I would. We when I first met with you guys, it was like roof. I said siding, and I mentioned vinyl. There are a few gasps in the room.
Yeah.
If I can be facetious, what are you rolling your eyes back there, young lady? Just kibitzing. And so, we're looking at some other things. I resurrected my relationship with Roberts Roofing and Siding, who is the guy that did the roof, because I'm trying to keep this all with one contractor, because I don't want to deal with 6 different people. If something's leaking, something's failing, I don't want them pointing fingers at the other person. So I, in that initial meeting, you gave me the go ahead on the roof. He said you didn't see any problem with the windows, but we got hung up on the siding. And I said we'd pick up the ball in the spring because obviously I go to Arizona in the winter. You guys were off for January anyway. I have resurrected that. I've gotten a new quote on the windows, same manufacturers. I presented with you. I think I gave you a brochure last time, Tom. Same exact company, same windows, 12 panel glass, so forth, so on. Just had to get a new quote because like everything, they've gone up. So I've got my new quote. I sent that to Mark and finance. So I'm just waiting to hear from them to pull the trigger because I need a $9,000, 1/3 down deposit before they can order the windows. And we're looking at 2-3 months to get the damn windows. So I need to get moving on that. And that's why I asked if we could also discuss that a little bit. Because nothing's really changed, but I just need to know, unlike the roof, do I need to go through the process for notifying everybody in the neighborhood? Is it the same deal?
I don't think so.
With the roof, huh?
We are really actively trying to streamline wherever we can. So, these are going to be white divided 12 over 12s.
Yeah, they're
all around,
gonna be,
right?
They're going to be double hung. I think the only window that's not changing is one that's a picture window in the back kitchen. That's just going to stay. We're not going to remove that.
Okay.
But there are some windows, and I probably shouldn't tell you this, that might have been bootleg. No, I'm going to say definitely were before you guys existed. There are a couple of mismatched double hung windows that are modern in the sense, but they're single pane. I'm replacing those with the 12 panel to match everything. So it's, has some consistency on both sides, north, south, and on the east side. I'm not so concerned about the west side, that one big bay window that I say bay, it's not a bay. It's just a large
A picture.
window. I'm not gonna, I wasn't planning on changing that. It's
That's
very
fine.
expensive.
It's also on the west side and
And it's also on the west side. So that's why it is an insulated argon gas double pane window. I mean, the windows went from about 30,000 to 39,000. So, I mean, yeah, ouch.
wow.
But no surprise there. So I'm hoping you're okay with that west side window.
Camilla, how do you feel?
Yes, I mean, it's really difficult to expect something that people don't even see to be maybe the same, to be so meticulous about it. I mean, I know you try to be consistent with the window styles and everything.
Well,
and final windows.
Right, I apologize.
No.
I think there are 3 windows in the house that are double hung that are more new. They're good quality windows, but they do not match. They're just single pane double hung. I am replacing those to match for the consistency, just so it'll actually look better than it does now. It's more.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
say.
add, that if I could just jump in, that there's a net gain here in terms of fixing those anomalous windows.
Correct.
And I think consistency is more visible than the type of window you put in. If the style matches and
yeah, it's a light style, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the other reason they're going to take so long to get, because a 12 over 12 is not a common window.
No, that's right. That's going to be special.
Yeah. So he said 2 to 3, but he said expect 3 and maybe 4. So whatever. I need to get moving.
So Craig, what about this? Can you? We never got to the point of an application, and that's what we got to have to vote. We're gonna, because we can't vote at this meeting because of the lack of quorum, we've decided to meet next Monday.
Okay.
And what you could do, I know that the siding is going to take more discussion, and it's also phase 2 of the project.
Well, it's phase 3.
3 rather. Roof was 1. We also had hanging out there what to do about the door and the sidelights.
I met with Renzo last week. And anytime I'm ready, he'll take me to some barn somewhere where they have a bunch of doors.
Great. Terrific. Okay.
Old historic doors, and I'll try and pick the best one I can, and we'll strip it, restore it, and have the siding guy just frame it in to look as much as we can similar, and just put fixed side lights, which presently, I think I mentioned, those are double hungs, believe it or not. And there was a day that they probably did move, but they don't now.
No, they're on payment shut, like every old thing. So what we could do, I know you would like to get that window order in.
Yes.
Let's get you on the agenda for Monday next week.
Okay.
And we can accept, even the most rudimentary application, and we'll just keep it open. If you put in the application that.
And Val, email me that application, Tom?
Sure, or Val can probably do
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Val.
You've been around this application. It's not very complicated.
No, it's fine. I've done many of them.
Yeah. And then let's At that meeting, we can discuss phase 3. I'm happy to do a site visit with you.
Good.
Because I thought we had some pretty good ideas to achieve what you want to achieve and not go to vinyl. And that's really, that's where, you know, our mandate meets your budget, and we're just going to have to.
And resistance. No.
I mean, it's one of the
I'm
most.
predicting with you, Tom. We will try to do what we can.
Yeah.
You know,
Likewise, and we want
obviously
to.
with COVID, attendance is down, tithing is down. It's not been an easy 2 years.
No, I can well imagine. I mean, everything about it. But
And while ago was, you know, a dagger in the heart.
yeah. The and I think for our part, we'd like to save you from another $9,000 increase on those windows. So let's fast track that for Monday next.
Very good.
Okay, Craig, this sounds good. As soon as you
the application, Val, do I just drop that off your house, take it back to Village Hall? What do I do with that? Take it to Tom?
Oh, yeah, don't do it to Village Hall. You can either drop it at my house, or if you can scan it and send it to me by email, that's okay too.
Okay, good, Val.
Good.
And Val, why don't I see your pretty face?
Well,
You don't have
I
to
will
answer
see
that.
if I can turn on my camera, Craig.
I'm just kidding with you. Forgive me.
Hi, Craig.
Hi.
implication is he's seen enough of us. Craig, this sounds good, and I think maybe let's keep the two projects as separate applications. So
Okay.
Windows, just Jameson House is application A. The church itself is application B. When you are ready with something firm about the AC, then let's get that into gear, and whatever we can do to help you think about it, we will.
Fortunately, mini splits seem to be readily available. Furnaces are brutal right now for whatever reason, but mini splits are relatively available. We're not anticipating an issue there, but if we did decide to go oil, availability is very limited. And I guess plants aren't making any stock. They're just putting them on assembly once they have the orders. And I guess
everybody's that hit the auto industry too, that everything's on demand, and there's no warehousing of these things anymore.
Don't have the order, you don't produce it. Makes sense, I guess. It's, again, just one more of those cogs in the supply chain nightmare that we're all dealing with.
Agreed.
Craig,
thank you very much.
I'm sorry, can I just ask, Craig, do you know if there are any good rebates available from Central Hudson if you go with the mini splits? Because sometimes there is a considerable price reduction.
There are some very nice rebates to get off oil. Very small rebates from Central Hudson, but it adds up because we're looking at quite a few units. It's only $100 a unit on the mini splits, but there's enough of them that it'll be a couple $1,000. But the real benefit, if we go that way, New York State wants oil to go away. They want the mini splits. They want electric because they want to be 100% electric green by 2040, and we'll see if that happens. I'm hopeful. They have an enormous rebate.
That's great. You want to be a part of that.
The upfront, we have to lay out the money, and we wouldn't get that back for a few months. But it is there, and we should qualify. We don't even know if we'll qualify. They're for residential. They're pretty easy to get, just like solar. But they're not rebates. They're they're credits against your taxes. We're not for profit. We're 501. We're a church. So our project falls under a different classification, and it's not residential. I'm working with a guy, and again, this is Matt, which Rycor didn't bring to us, but Matt brought us a guy who will hold my hand basically, because I'll end up being the one to do the application. It has to go in to New York State, and it's a Cuomo thing, and apply for the rebate. So it comes as a check, because credits don't do us any good. But it requires us to get rid of oil and get rid of that tank. I've already spoken to C2G. I've got some numbers on that. There are a lot of extra expenses that will probably end up chewing up that $30-something thousand to go. But unfortunately, oil at the end of the day, to upgrade oil, is going to be the same kind of money as the mini splits. And I don't get anything for it, in the sense that I still am not green. I'm still burning fossil fuels. I'm not leading the way as a green church to set an example, and try to, move us in the right direction. So, but unfortunately, it'll be months before I see that money. So we're going to have to find the money, spend the money, and then hope we qualify for the rebate, which is not a guarantee in our situation, because it's what the state is going to look at as a custom project. Now, hopefully they'll look favorably upon a church, but, and Lord watches over us, but there are no guarantees.
Yeah. Do you have a grant writer on your board or in your congregation?
We actually engaged, had some conversation about a month ago with a grant writer, but to his words, there's no money for maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said that's going to fall under maintenance, even in a catastrophic situation. There's no money for that kind of thing. So, we're thinking about hiring for other things. I want to do that playground for handicapped kids, stuff like that. There's money, but he said there's no money for that kind of thing unless you can find it with Central Hudson, NYSERDA, those kind of things, Cornell, and we've been in those conversations, and it's not there. And as I said, the insulation thing, I suspect is going to come around in the next year or two because of the cost of heating fuel.
It would be good social policy when it does.
Yeah, well, it's been there before. Just got to come back.
Yeah.
If you look at your Central Hudson bill, you do pay, I think, 0.5% towards helping the state go green. So
Right.
Where's that money going right now?
Craig, this sounds great. Absolutely great.
Thank you.
Val, before the evening's out, Val will have sent you the application form.
Thank you, Val.
You're welcome.
And thank you for the privilege of the face.
Craig, thanks for all your work.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody. Very nice talking to you.
Look forward to getting this done.
When you want to do a site visit, we can look at the Jameson House as well as the wells. We can do both at the same time.
Okay, let's try to do that soon, next week or so. Okay.
I'll get that application back to you in a day or two, Val.
Sounds good. Thank
you so much.
Craig.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Craig.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye, Craig.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Who's the administrator? Can you take me off this thing? I'm an old guy.
I think you have to do yourself.
I think, I can't get rid of you.
You can't get rid of me. You got it, Val. Come on, you can do it. Here, I got it. Leave. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. I feel the same, by the way. I'm always looking for it. That sounds great. Camilla, would you be willing to help with a site visit?
Yes, definitely. I was going to ask you actually to let me know when.
Okay. I know this weekend is not good for me. I'm going to be out of town, but later in this week or early next.
I would be available except for Wednesday.
Okay. Let's think about maybe Thursday then, other things being equal. Why don't we wrap up?
A quick question with the Jameson House application. So because we're separating out the windows, we are considering it essentially like for like, nothing that needs a public hearing. Or
what I actually was suggesting, and maybe we should guide Craig on this, is the Jameson should list all the things And we can just tick off the roof as like for like.
Right.
The windows, if we're satisfied, are like for like, we can call them that.
Okay.
And then burrow in on phase 3, and we can keep that open as long as needed. We can
Okay.
give them permission to go ahead with phases.
Okay. So, but that still sounds like there's no need for a public hearing that addresses the windows.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think
I just
this-
want to be, that's what I thought you
Yeah.
were saying, and that's kind of what I was remembering.
Yeah, I think this is a case where, there's an inordinate, I mean, if something were changing, then public hearing, but this is like for like in all realistic
Okay.
ways.
Yeah, I really just wanted the clarification.
Yeah,
I
no,
understood
thank you
it
for
correctly.
clarifying.
Yeah.
Depending on where we end up with the siding, if there's a change there, then I think that's a different animal. But
Mhm.
that's clearly phase 3, and it's not as urgent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think the church HVAC should be its own application.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just ticking off the last few things, and then we can probably adjourn. Just
Or
getting
not.
into the record that we basically stayed under budget, but barely. So that note to selves that we probably need to ask for more as the administrative part of our work increases. Val, the annual report is kind of stuck with me, I think.
I still do have the member piece of it, listing the terms, everybody's terms, and who went on, who went off during the period of the report. It wouldn't take very long, but I didn't get to it today. I'll try to have it done for next week, though.
Okay, that would be great.
Well,
I'm gonna just write down that, and I will try to get to it this week. It's not very long. It's just one of those things that always seemed like it could be deferred.
And I don't think there's actually a lot that hasn't been completed yet. There may be a few questions that haven't, but I did draft a lot of the responses.
Can
For
you
many
remind me,
things.
did you send me that draft, or
I can resend it.
would you mind?
Not at all.
Yeah, that would be great. And I will put a star next to that project. Camilla, did you have a comment on the annual report?
no.
Training and professional development. I have not been able to do any of these. Have you, Camilla?
I signed up for the Zoom links, but I wasn't able to attend the courses. I will watch them on YouTube.
Okay. If you find something that looks really good, please alert us.
Okay.
With the next agenda, I'm going to give you a new page. There's a channel for National Trust that actually shows all these, I think from 2018 through 21 past forward conferences. So I'll give you that one link, and then you can look at whichever ones you might want to.
That sounds great. I also just wanted to add 2 things that aren't on the agenda. One is apparently Warwick has a very well-written design handbook or guidelines. And so I'm going to ask Peter Fairweather to share that with me, because I thought that, potentially we could learn something. They've apparently had a design review board for a long time. And then the other thing is just to give a heads up, mostly for Camilla, actually, that Roz and Dave have now made the next step, and they actually have a quotation from Gray's Woodworks.
I see.
And maybe we could actually combine site visits.
Sure.
If we're on Hugonite Street later this week. And then so we'll have the June meeting next week, and we don't have to notice it because we're not going to close this meeting. In July, Camilla, I'm going to be in Italy. So would you be willing to run the meeting should I not be able to log in?
Sure.
I don't
Not that I would have a choice, right?
I mean, it is feeling a bit that way. I mean, I fully intend to be there, and I think by July 18th, I ought to have got my internet all sorted out. That should happen in a few days. But it'll be 1 a.m, and I may not be my sharpest, but if you could be there as a backup.
For sure, yes.
And we can obviously talk ahead of time. Val, am I forgetting anything?
Well, I would appreciate it if you two could just look at the member list update and let me know if I need to change anything on your entries. I don't think I will.
Mine looks good.
Okay.
Mine looks good.
Okay.
And I think we could either wait till Monday or you could send it out for comment.
Right. Yeah. And I kind of did that today, but anyway, we'll have to do some further communication before next week, just if only to confirm the meeting, but a lot of the materials and a lot of the agenda items will be with there tonight.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I don't intend to go over the non-application things again next week. I can just refer people to the YouTube, or people can ask if they have any questions.
Okay.
So
Well, then let me go up to Hugonite Street report. So we have this recorded then that
Okay.
I was in touch with Mondoris about the shed at 162 and they still can't move forward. Costs are just still pretty high. So,
Right.
you know, I'll touch base with them later, but they may request another extension. September is the current expiration date for the extension of a year that we granted last fall.
Okay.
Also, we have new owners of the house across the street, 181. I can't tell you any more than that. I have seen some activity, but I don't know anything more about who purchased the property.
Okay.
And
Now, I think that perhaps I should prepare a version of that Welcome to New Paltz, Welcome to the Historic District letter.
yeah. If you want, I can resend the one you sent. I mean, for the last two owners.
Yeah, it's like. Pretty much, sure. That would be nice to jog my memory.
Okay. And then the other thing is that 191 Hugonite Street, which is the Hasbrook property, the stone house that's on it's a national landmark, is for sale.
Sale, yeah. Beautiful, beautiful house from the outside anyway.
Yep.
Camilla, do you have any objection to extending 162 if they need that?
No, not at all.
I feel the same.
Yeah, and we don't have to do anything really anytime soon because we do have until September. So, you know, probably, well, it'll be on the September agenda, but we can put it on the July agenda as well.
Yeah.
We'll announce it next week and then add it to the July agenda.
Right. I think that sounds great. I don't have anything to add on those PBZBA applications. We'll be returning to 2 of them next week. Lemon Squeeze is looking really good. The more scaffolding comes down, the more I'm impressed.
Yeah.
It's really a poster child for good preservation and good participation.
I don't know that we'll have any more planning board updates for next week because they won't meet again until the day after, well, to July 5th, I guess it is. So
right.
A lot of those things will stay as they are.
Camilla, can you think of any new business?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So if you would please, then could you hold roughly an hour? Maybe hold a little more, but let's hope we can keep it to an hour next week for PB 2205 and 2204. And the first one, 2205, should be very quick. Thank you so much, Camilla. Let's maybe we could touch base on Wednesday to see how our Thursday and Friday look. Actually, Friday's really busy for me. That I think it's down to Thursday.
Okay, whenever is good for you.
Thank you.
Um,
Sounds great. Thank you.
You might want to take a look at that local law. I don't know if you haven't already.
Okay, yeah,
Because we will need to abide by it. At least for
Yes.
the July meeting. I'm not sure. It says the effective date is when it's, I think it says when it's registered with the state.
okay.
And I'm not sure if that's happened yet. Should look here. Upon filing in the office of the Secretary of State. So I am not sure if that's happened yet.
Okay. I will do that.
And let me check the document that Autumn shared earlier about the continuation. See if there's any, I mean, you can't make a motion, so.
No, it would be just fiat.
Yeah, let's see. If business must be done before the next regularly scheduled business meeting, simply move to continue the current meeting to a specific date and time in the future. So I guess you can move, but you can't vote. The continued meeting will be just that, an extension of the current meeting. It isn't a separate special meeting that requires notice, but it'll give you a chance to regroup at a later date and get enough people in the room to finish what you started the way
I
it's.
think that's exactly where we are. So, Camilla, with your approval, I will suggest that we just do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Camilla.
Thank you.
And I will.
This was a special meeting.
It was a
Not
special
the next
meeting.
one. Because
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for all you're doing, as well as the art show work. And we will meet in a week.
yes, and we will meet probably on Thursday.
Yes, that's my hope. I'm going to look at my calendar now and suggest a time.
Thank you.
All right, and I'll be in touch with Autumn tomorrow to get a meeting on the calendar, village calendar for next week, and be in touch with everybody about that.
Sounds great, Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Val, let's just take a minute and just think about what we have to do as action items.
Okay, let me just stop the live stream.
Yeah. Camille, if you'd like to listen in on this, this is a regular post-meeting